jeopardy, so I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting of the August 1st meeting of the Valley High Nursing Home Committee to order. Can I have a roll call, please?
Van Hoff.
Present.
Sullivan.
Here.
Collins. Reno. Krager. Minsky.
Present.
Shorten.
Here. I'll note that Ms. Reno is on her way.
Yeah, she'll be here in about 5 minutes.
Okay, cool. Let's see. Item number 2. Approval of the minutes from the Valley High Operating Committee meeting from May 30th, 2025. Need a motion?
I'll make it.
Minsky. Mr. Sullivan, second. Any changes? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Public comment.
I don't see any on this.
We have none.
All right. Member comment. No? Okay. Administrator's report.
You're up, Tom.
I'm up, all right. Well, let's start with memory care, since that's what everybody wants to know. As of this afternoon, we'll have 18 residents on the unit out of 20 beds that we want to occupy. Way faster fill than we well, Nick and I are probably, he disagreed, but I had it projected that we would fill it by November. He filled it in 30 days. Crazy as it may sound, very few growing pains with that process. So I think that Nick and his team did a fantastic job. The delay really in opening only made it so that they were better prepared when we started admitting residents, so it worked out great. There's a couple small items that we're finishing up. There's a new winder guard system that's being installed right now, and it should be done within the next couple of days. And then there's just a few minor, touch-up things, and then we're done with the construction phase process, whatever you want to call it. So we're getting close to wrapping up the full financial, outlay for the project. It does appear that it will come in. We were hoping under budget. It's probably going to come in right on budget, but we shouldn't be over. And that's after all of the extra work and everything else. That the money and expense for that is reflected in the financial reports that you're seeing from month to month. So at this point, there's not a big hit coming. I think, what did we figure? It's like 100,000 that's left out there.
Thereabouts, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, we're pretty close to having it all wrapped up.
Excellent.
I'm almost afraid to say it, but it's gone really well. So August will be when we start to see the numbers really coming in. July will be the first month with the higher level of census, but it will not have completely matched up with the staffing until about mid-month July. So the numbers will be slightly skewed. But by the time we hit August, where the census and the staffing are all matched up right, that'll be a good reflection of what to expect month over month going forward. And then from there, Scott and I can update the model. I know I had told you guys a while back that I was concerned about the Medicaid rate, because the Medicaid rate is a blend of all of the Medicaid residents in the building and their acuity levels, which is the amount of care that they receive. By bringing intermediate care residents into the mix, I was afraid it would suck the rate down a little bit, maybe get it below 500. Modeling with what case mix and some of the stuff right now, it might not have any impact on it at all. It might be net neutral. So we're going to find out in the next couple months when we get the Medicaid rate readjusted. But for now, everything looks kind of as we projected. It looks good. So more to come on that.
I know you don't know, but can you talk about what you don't know with regard to the Medicaid rate and the One Big Beautiful Bill and, the adjustments that the state of Illinois is going to make and how those adjustments might come to touch us?
Okay, so we really don't know the full impact of ABBA, but we do know that the provider tax was a lot of the discussion, and that was kind of one of the contentious points. Illinois uses a provider tax to generate revenue for hospitals and nursing homes. It started with the hospitals back in like the late 90s, early 2000s, and then long-term care jumped on quickly after that. So you've heard the phrase FMAP thrown around a lot, and that is the long-term care component of the provider tax. And FMAP stands for Federal Assistance Medicaid, Federal Medicaid Assistance Program is what it is. And then what that does is they collect a bed tax on nursing homes. We pay it, and then they apply that money to the federal government. The federal government then matches that at a percentage and then kicks that back to the state to go into the Medicaid rates. So under ABBA, that FMAP percentage is where there's risk. They could lower the percentage, they could eliminate the FMAP opportunity altogether, and then that in turn reduces the amount of money coming from the federal government back to the Medicaid program in Illinois. The wild card is that the federal government's not the one who dictates how Medicaid money is spent. So the FMAP impact could be taken from somewhere else versus the long-term care line. So we do not know what the Medicaid rate reduction is going to be, but there will be a reduction. What percentage? Don't know. On the Medicare side, with ABBA, we were anticipating a 2% Medicare increase going into the next fiscal year. Now we're looking at potentially a 2 to a 4% decrease in the Medicare rates going into the next budget. So it's actually a 6%, potentially 6% swing. For us, being that Medicare is not the main driver of our bottom line, it will be felt, but it's not going to be, significant. We may change kind of the Medicare program a little bit, but probably not a whole lot, right? And that's only from what types of services you're targeting. What I think is going to end up happening more than anything is when we get a couple months down the road and ABBA starts becoming clear, we figure out how the state wants to respond, is it's going to be a conversation at this level about case mix. What do we want to do with case mix in order to absorb that? Maybe it's nothing. Maybe, it's a nominal impact. The rate's, high enough as it is right now. I mean, we have the highest Medicaid rate of all the county nursing homes in Illinois at this point. It's not even close. And that has to do with, again, acuity, how you're scoring it on your MDSs and submitting that stuff. If we took a little haircut, it's not gonna kill us. So don't really, I know you acknowledge, we don't really know, but we do kind of have an idea of where it's gonna come. We don't know how the governor's going to respond to this. In Illinois, with it being very, 18 to 35-year-olds are leaving the state at a higher rate than coming in. So the major voting bloc is the baby boomers and the seniors, and it would be really difficult with running for governor and potential run for president to cut the budget off of the backs of the seniors. So we're kind of hoping that compassion, and we'll say compassion, leaves us very unaffected.
Calculated.
I like your phrase better. But the hospitals will probably be the ones that take the biggest hit in this.
So, Alicia, when met with Congressman LaHood on Monday this week, that Congressman LaHood is working on some steps to get more money for rural hospitals. I think there's 9 rural hospitals
Yep.
that are worried about one big beautiful bill. And if what I think it's just all third person now, fourth person, but Congressman LaHood is looking to get some more money for rural hospitals in Illinois, rural hospitals in general. I'm not sure Dr. Oz is working on this. If more money went to rural hospitals, would that take money out of the Medicaid pot do you have available?
It depends on how they fund it, right? So if they fund it out of the general Medicaid program, then the answer to that is yes. If they create a new stream or a new tranche or whatever the words they use these days, that money is coming through, then it will have no impact. So how it gets set up is,
Lot more to come.
unfortunately, a lot more to come. So we're going to sit down in a little while and talk budget, and we're going to try to lock in on something that, and it's like this for long-term care all the time. It's a moving target, and we're going to hope that, we're going to hope to nail it somewhere near the middle, but it could change. So did that kind of help a little bit?
It's kind of a whole lot of mishmash, which I thought it was, but I just want everybody to know that it's some moving numbers here and things are going to change.
The modeling is going to be really important, and when we get a couple months down and we know the impact of the Medicaid rate, an impact of ABBA, what's going to happen with Medicare, and then just overall state stuff, built that into the model, and then we can talk case mix. So ABBA was on my list, so I appreciate you queuing that up. Overall census, so let's just real quickly get a feel for where we're at. Building-wise, we're at 96 today, which is important because that number is gonna get reflected in the budget when you see we built all of our revenue projections off of the number 96. However,
96 would be the biggest you've had in here in
since
years.
COVID,
Yeah.
well, we're way past the biggest number we've had since COVID. Yeah, we broke that on, I think, week 2 of the memory care unit. But why I highlight this is we're not full, okay? Full right now would be somewhere that we would consider full, somewhere between 100 and 105. That is where we're going, and that is where we're going to run a vast majority of our time. So the reason why I highlight 96 is 96 is kind of that spot where everything starts, remember we talked about nursing home finances as stair steps. It's not a straight linear line. We are in the sweet spot. This is the sweet spot. So anything above this is now,
Gravy.
I was going to say gravy, but then I'm like, I don't know if I should say gravy. No, it's gravy.
So can I ask a question, Tom?
Yep.
So what is the case mix now with the 96 census? How many Medicare, how many Medicaid, and
It
how many
is
private?
close to what the county board has approved, and I don't know the numbers off the top of my head and the percentages, but it's that, 70, 20,
Okay.
that kind of thing.
I know we looked at that when we looked at modeling.
Haven't changed it.
Okay.
And we've stayed very close to true on that, although if you were to tell me run your EMR, it would look very private pay heavy. And then kind of like in the budget document, when you look at the performance indicators, it looks like we're running a very high private pay census. The problem is that doesn't account for how many of those people are actually out of money and waiting for the state to flip them into Medicaid, but we still have to call them private pay. So when you take those numbers out, we're right, almost on target.
Okay, so I'd be safe to say 70, 20, 10?
Probably closer to 70, 15, 15, but yeah.
Okay.
Because again, you got a little bit of float. Medicare right now is running hot. I think I went 20.
And that's a good thing.
For us, it's a great thing.
Yeah. Well, I think for all the long-term care it is right now.
Yeah.
'Cause
Even
there's
with the
more
projected cut.
uncertainty with Medicaid than there is with Medicare.
Well, under ABBA, Medicare technically goes away. The traditional, Medicare government-backed was supposed to be phased out in 2030, but it looks like they're going to try to phase it out in the next year and a half, which means that everybody's going to be shifted over to those Medicare replacement plans, or basically like Medicare managed care, and that's going to create a different discussion that we're going to have when they really get going on that. We're going to have to add a staff member, because the amount of work that these new plans create with certs, recerts, and audits, it would end up having to add another business office person.
So now, one last question. I thought all of that was going to be kicking in 2027,
Yeah, but that transition's already,
starting to.
yeah, we just crossed the threshold in the last couple months of, majority. So 54% of the American senior population is now on a Medicare replacement plan. And so it's not going away. How about that? They pay, traditional Medicare pays way better. The relationship in that type of an arrangement is between the facility, the doctor, and the resident. Under Medicare replacement, the stays are extremely shorter, and the relationship is not between the doctor and the resident and the facility, it's between the insurer and the facility only. And the insurer makes the decision on when they're going to be done. And so if you peak, or you decide you don't want to do rehab for 2 days because you're not feeling well, the insurance company will say, well, then you're done, and cut them. So length of stay wise, since Medicare managed care has been taken in, it's like 12 to 14 days. Somebody 80-something years old that just had a hip replacement needs a lot more than 12 to 14 days of therapy. So this is not a super beneficial change that we're transitioning into, unless you're looking at it from the length of stay in dollars and cents that's being paid for it. So all this stuff, a lot that needs to be kind of ironed out in the wash, but yeah. Yep, no, it's a good question. So back on the overall census piece, just keeping in mind that we are going to be targeting for 100, 105 in the building at all times, but we're going to predicate all of our budgeting and forecasting off of 96. So just put a pin in that. We'll talk about that in a few minutes later. I included in the report I sent you guys last night, I'm not going to spend any time on it today, but I just want to highlight it. I included the investment report that Donna and her team and Scott and I had from our meeting, what was that, 2 weeks ago? Just so that you guys can see what's happening in the background, what we're doing with our money, how Donna's investing it, and just get a feel for what the future kind of lays out. We have reached the point now with the investments where the conversations are at the level of what's happening in August, how much do we need in August, let's have that roll off at that amount. So it's now really self-generating. So would you say we're as leveraged as we can be,
Yeah,
but smartly?
yeah, but what's important to note though is when Donna Kurtz took over as treasurer, she inherited a lot of legacy investments that were made by previous treasurer Glenda Miller. The challenge was when Glenda was investing, it was a very poor market. I mean, we were getting 2% plus returns. So those investments now are starting to mature, and that money now is becoming available, which now gives Donna the ability to invest in today's market, which is a much more favorable interest rate than what Glenda had to work with. So we're starting to see that money, as it comes off, to now be able to do a lot more for Valley High. And the intent was we wanted to get as much out in the investments as we can. We're still getting a good return on cash in the bank, but as you know, I mean, even with the market this week, you never know when that's going to end. So we're looking at a really good strategy of various lengths of investments to ensure that we're going to be able to capitalize. And when opportunities come up, like Donna has the opportunity to buy something at a discount, we do it. And then sometimes she'll call us and say, hey, I have this opportunity for a $200,000 investment. And even though she has the full authority as a steward of the county's funds and financing to do this, she still gives the courtesy of conferring with Tom and I before she makes that move. And she feels that's important because there may be something on the horizon that we're aware of, i.e. a memory care payment, settlement, or something, a capital project that we may need to cash for. So she likes to go through that, that check before she makes that investment.
So in your packet, you'll have kind of a summary of the investment accounts over the last, I think at this point we're up to like 18 months that's on that tracking form. And it's just more FYI stuff for you guys. And then I gave you the full investment profile report behind it so that it kind of supports what you're seeing. So just figured I'd throw that out for you. I want to talk strategic plan real quick. I put that in your packets. It was the second email I sent out last night. I apologize for not having that in the first one. But this is the report card that you guys get from me quarterly that we built it at the beginning of this year. So this is your first quarterly update or your first update coming in. Just so you know what you're looking at. And again, I know budget's today's discussion and I don't want to belabor the strategic plan much. Items that you see on the plan that are in green, those are items that have already been initiated or in some phase of ongoing. And then the items that you see in the darker color are items that have been completed, and if it's white, it hasn't been touched yet. And then you can see the notes in the column. One of the biggest discussions that we have been having at the leadership level is kind of what happens to us at the end of this year in relation to professional associations. And I'm not going to get in the weeds on this, but I want to help kind of set the table here, so give me a second. We have been members of the Illinois Healthcare Association now for 15 years. It was part of the deal when I signed on to take the job that we would join that association. I was already active. I was already a board member. I am currently the board chair. Back a year ago, Illinois Healthcare tried to merge with another association, which is it's getting extremely large in Illinois, called Healthcare Council of Illinois, which is we call them HCCI. The merger was blocked by the DD constituency of IHCA, and the American Healthcare Association pulled the charter from Illinois Healthcare and gave it to HCCI because that's where all the SNF beds were ending up. And basically what was happening is HCCI is buying all of Illinois Healthcare Association members' buildings and flipping them over to their association. So it's through attrition. The quality awards, so the silver, the bronze that we already have, and then the gold, which is something we've been talking about, in order for us to go after it, we would have to join HCCI. Their focus does not align with our values. I'm just gonna lay that out as blunt as that. So there's another association in Illinois, there was three, called Leading Age. And for those of you that have been part of the county nursing home process a long time, we were members of Leading Age. The county was before I got here. Leading Age is the not-for-profit group, and that's where all the county nursing homes have migrated over in this change. So we are going to leave Illinois Healthcare after my term ends in September. And we're going to join Leading Age. And now, if you're kind of following the bouncing ball, you're like, well, wait a minute, you said HCCI for Gold Award. So as a team, we have decided that we're not going to pursue the Gold Award, and we are going to change the focus. And let me explain to you how we've arrived at this decision. So one of the things, for better or for worse, that I have instilled in my leadership team is that question everything. So if we're going to do something, ask the questions of what's our return, what's the reason why are we doing it this way, like just question everything. So I had a couple of my leaders come to me and say, what do we get if we get the Gold Award? Because the investment, you've got to pay to get into it, you got to pay to have a consultant, so you're looking at a $20,000 investment to go after this award. What do you get at the end? Does it help referrals? We run full, so we don't need an award to bring in referrals. Does it increase your reimbursement? No, it does not. Does it? And we would go down the list. And, kind of my proud moment, I said, well, then why are we doing this? And they're like, well, because it's important to you, Tom, and that's why we're going to do it. And I'm like, okay, we're not doing this because of me. So we kind of started talking through it. Right now, there's an initiative that we have started, and I've already talked to you guys about it, which is this organizational health thing, which we really honed in. They came to the conclusion, and I am on board with them 100%, that would be the lost opportunity cost if we went for the Gold Award. Our quality is not an issue. So it would be a matter of spending a year and a half just affirming what we already do. Whereas, if we go all in on this initiative that we're creating, we could really create something special here, beyond what we're already doing. And so the decision that the team made is we are not going to go after the Gold Award, and we're going all in on this initiative, in which case puts it into Leading Age, which is a better fit for us than sitting in HCCI for a year and a half while we wait to get the award and then jumping across. So you asked me on our call yesterday, what are we doing about the Gold Award? That's kind of what we've decided. The one thing that they kept saying is, well, if you don't know about the award, meaning you're not part of the sector, it doesn't mean anything anyway. That's true, but not true. So that's kind of where we're at. And then you're going to see some things that in the budget that align with this initiative, which is that, like we talked the last meeting, the culture and client relations position and some of the other things that we're looking to do. So more to come on that initiative because we're going to really build that out over the next 2 years. But I think that that's probably a better use of our time and resources than chasing after something that we would get. I'm going to tell you right now, it would be a year and a half journey. It would cost us, $20,000, but we would have that award. It would not be hard. We're that, I'm not to sound conceited, but we're that far ahead of everybody else. But I think the team is really, really interested in seeing what we can do, focusing on the big three: leadership, accountability, and presence. So that's the direction we're going. Fair?
Oh, yeah.
I know you kind of affirmed that yesterday, but this is a little bit more of a detailed explanation than that. I know you understand the ins and outs of all these associations. What are your thoughts
I
on
was
that?
just wondering when you were talking about that, what is the difference in the investment of resources that you would have to make if you went away from the one award you were looking at to the Leading Edge?
Leading Age.
Leading Age.
Um,
Put them both down, Age and then Edge question mark.
So Leading Age, dues-wise, would be less than going to HCCI.
Okay.
Leading Age has a far better education platform. I mean, it's not even close. HCCI is only known for their advocacy. And what I mean by that is, at 11:59, before session ends, $1 million rolls in because their PAC is so big, and all of a sudden legislation stops. And you've known that for years. That's not who we are. We are not going to play in the pool with, we're going to get legislation done because we're funding it versus it's good policy. So it's a better fit for us. I did speak at the Leading Age conference last week. I did 2 different sessions there, and from an education standpoint, it was very well attended. Our staff will fit in real good there. So,
So are those conferences something that we can look at online? I mean, do they have,
it was in Schaumburg. So for the staff to go, they just drive in the day and drive out at night.
yeah, but I wonder if they have like videos like a lot of.
Oh, they do.
Okay.
Like an online education platform? Yeah, absolutely.
I'll take a look at that. Thank you for.
And the one thing they did start, which is probably the most appealing part, is a constituency group that is specifically county nursing homes. And they are trying to protect the 16 remaining homes as best as they can. And one of the draws is they've asked us to kind of take the lead in that. So I've already attended 2 nursing home quarterly meetings, even though we're not members. One of them was last week at the Leading Age Conference, but so it's a better fit for us.
Say there's 102 counties in Illinois, 16
Left.
left running. When you were hired, I think there was like 32, 30. I mean,
It was
It was.
high 20s. Yeah. Well, I mean, just in the 15 years I've been here, Peoria, Champaign, like looking at our
Yeah.
general vicinity.
Lake?
Lake,
Winnebago.
well, DeKalb, they were on the precipice, and they're now back.
Yeah, they're back in.
They're back in.
Yeah.
DuPage is done. They're right now they are reinvesting in their building significantly. I met with them last week. It was a great conversation. Stevenson is on the way out. They're the next one to fall. So,
By doing this, does that get you any more, I'll call it clout, when you have the goon squad coming in to inspect and you're right and they say you're wrong?
no, there's no clout.
Yeah.
You know, so last week part of one of the panels that I was on, someone made the comment that public health gets to hide behind that the feds, it's the feds pushing, and I was like, no, I cannot accept that. This is a Region 5, meaning that there's multiple states. Why aren't they the same as Illinois? It's not a federal issue; it's a state issue. Illinois is just beating nursing homes up and generating revenue off, and they control the metrics. That's the problem.
Right.
So, more to come on that piece when we get the budget. So that's really all I had for my administrator's report today. I figured we can do numbers with the budget piece.
Any questions? All right,
Let's hit the budget.
moving along. We gotta do routine consent agenda first, Carl.
Make a motion to approve it?
Need a motion to approve the routine consent agenda.
Make motion.
Need a second? Gloria seconds. Any discussion? None? Okay. Roll call.
Minsky,
Pardon?
Roll call.
Roll call.
Yes.
Reno. Yes. Sullivan.
Yes.
Van Hoff.
Yes.
Thornton.
Yes. Okay. Now we can do budget.
Sorry, I couldn't get in here.
But you gotta vote yes. You're the one who made the motion.
I just couldn't hear
That
it.
resolution?
Yeah, that's exactly what that is. All right, let's do budget. I put together some slides for you guys, and I included them in your packet. I emailed them out last night, and they dovetail what was in the packet that Maureen and Carrie put together. Now, I did have some add-ons, just to kind of draw some attention to some things, so that's where we're at, but I have them all up here. I also, just to draw your attention, the Heart of the Valley logo, that is our new logo.
It's pretty.
If you can see how the two kind of blend together, that, again, work of the team, so kind of a neat little...
You did that in-house.
No, actually, we had some help with that. We
That's nice.
now I'm going to draw a blank on their name. Nope, it's gone. I lost it.
Very professional.
Oh, that's nice. I like that.
Yeah, no, actually, we had them come out, turnkey. We had them come out and do a drone video, which I was trying to find before the meeting to show you guys, and I can't find it. And a virtual tour, which is really neat when we get that up on our website. You just click, and it walks you down the hallway. And we did it before we filled the memory care unit, so it's the whole unit, but without anybody on it, so it's really neat. And they did some other marketing stuff for us put together, so.
You're gonna combine that with the construction camera?
Yeah, it's kind of, there's a whole bunch of stuff that we're doing digitally. We're also going to start doing a video library of like virtual tour, or not the tour part, but like this is what to expect when you come in to do admissions. This is what to expect for Medicare. And then putting a library together of that stuff too.
Okay, cool.
All right, let's get into the budget. And I'm going to try to do this as quickly but as detailed as I can because I know everybody's got stuff to do today. So this year's budget, as we put it together, has been positively impacted by the stabilization of staffing. And if you remember, a little over a year ago, we did that increase to the staff wages, and we changed the recruitment and retention plan up a little bit, and we targeted staff pay rates at so historically we would compete against Hearthstone and Alden and like all the area facilities. And it's just, you call and you say, what are your rates? And then you kind of do your wage survey. And this is like the historical nursing home long-term care process. Every year we do 2 surveys, wages and room rates, right? And one of the things is that you just keep circling each other. You raise it, then they raise theirs, and then the next one raises theirs, and then you raise theirs, and it's just this weird arms race that you chase each other in. If you recall, about a year and a half ago, we said we're not going to do that anymore. We're going to compete directly with the nursing agencies and pay the staff at a rate that the nursing agencies are paying their staff, which is basically who you're competing with, not the other facilities anymore. And since then, we have completely stabilized our staff. If you remember, one of the issues that are concerns about going into the memory care project was, could we staff it, right? That was the biggest fear, especially coming out of COVID and some of the other things that went on. Not only have we been able to staff it, but we've been able to not impact the staffing on the other side of the house at the exact same time. So, biggest impact to the budget from a positive standpoint is just getting control of the staff and getting rid of as much agency as we possibly can. The budget that we're going to bring forward now assumes a full memory care unit and a full complement of staff in the house and everything being just basically status quo going forward. So budget does not include, and Pete kind of set the table a little bit with his ABBA question. It doesn't include any case mix revenue adjustments that we may decide to make as a group, right? It's all predicated on today's case mix. It does not include any unfunded mandates. Long-term care is notorious for having unfunded mandates, and usually they are given, it's going to be implemented in the next couple months, so it does not include any of that. There are no, I don't have any on the radar right now that I'm watching. That staffing, federal staffing mandate looks like it's dead in the water. There's some provisions in it that are going to still go forward, but the main bulk of that, which would have been a financial hit, looks like that's, it's been delayed for 10 years.
That's good news. That's such good news.
But delayed for 10 years, just kill the damn thing.
Right.
There's a population problem that will cause that in 10 years not to work. But we're not going to get into that today. This also does not include any supply chain disruptions or anything that results from global whatever. Uncontrolled cost increases are not built in here, and that would be, again, like tariffs that get, last second we're going to go to 50% instead of 10%. We are seeing some of our vendors passing that through, especially linens. They're passing the tariffs through. Market-related wage pressures that may occur. Right now, our wages are at the high end of the market. We are having 0 issues with recruiting. I don't anticipate anything coming that way, but again, if something was to break, this is not. And then it also doesn't account for the change in title and compensation for the position that we've been talking about. So we have an admissions coordinator position on the docket right now. We want to transform that into the culture and client relations coordinator, which would be taking that position and putting it on steroids, but that gets into that focus that we were talking about before. So it does not include that. That position at the moment is kind of in a discussion between me and Pete and Suzanne, and that'll come to you at a future date. So just kind of put a pin in that one, so to speak. All right, so the challenges that we face. Right now, the single biggest challenge will be staffing. Right now, it's under control, so we don't need to worry about it, but just everything that it impacts. Illinois is raking in millions in staffing fines on long-term care facilities. So for couple of years, we would get the staffing fine letters, but they were not in effect, so that you could gauge where you were at. And then on January 1 of this year, they went into full effect. In the first quarter of the year, the state brought in $250 million in staffing fines. Or I'm sorry, I said that wrong. They brought in $25 million, $250 million would be the projected for the year in just staffing fines. They control the metric. They set the staffing ratios that are supposed to be, and then they hit you for not meeting them. Valley High has not had any staffing letters that come back that tell you what your fine's going to be or anything. We have not had any issues other than the very first quarter that came out years ago. And if you recall, we got it would have been a couple $100 fine because we had 2 hours that on the night shift that we didn't have 2 nurses in the building. And if you remember, that was during COVID. The nurse came in, she checked in, failed the health screening at the desk, and it took us 2 hours to get a replacement here. It's the middle of the night. So that would have affected us. That was the way they're looking at it is by the minute do you have the staff. There are changes coming to that are legislative that we have worked very hard at the state level to get in, and that's going to really change the game for long-term care, right? So the changes would be that if you're within 10% on a regular basis, they're not going to hit you with the fines, but you do have to do a plan correction, that kind of stuff. So the numbers of dollar amounts are going to come down. But obviously, when we look at staffing, you want to stay above that ratio in Illinois at all times. We are far exceeding that. So staffing is our biggest challenge. I think we're going to be all right. The next challenge is ABA. We don't know what's going to happen. We've already talked about the transition to Medicare, or to Medicare Advantage. The healthcare worker shortage is not getting better. So don't be fooled by Valley High saying, well, our staffing is great, we're not having any problems recruiting. If you call our neighbors, they're going to tell you a totally different story. In fact, they're probably not going to take your call because we've been stealing their staff. I'm not going to apologize for that. And then just be aware, increasing IDPH and CMS penalties. We are seeing fines now for everything that happens during the survey for just little ticky-tack stuff. You saw in the administrator's report that I put down, we paid a $1,340 fine that resulted from our annual survey this year. They've already levied it, we've already paid it. But we've created a budget line item to account for this stuff going forward so that we can, instead of it hitting contingent or other areas that are putting pressures on the budget, we've created 2 line items. One is for the penalties, and the other one is for DOPNM, which stands for Denial of Payment for New Admissions. So that's the other way they get you, is they hit you with a fine, and then they say, well, from this date to this date, you're not going to get paid for anybody that was admitted. It's just the way that they're doing it at this point. So we'll talk more about that in a second. And then the baby boomers coming into the system, and for those of you that fall into that category, can you stop spending your damn money? The baby boomers are spending their money faster than the generation before them, which means that they're coming in with less and they're ending up on Medicaid faster. For us, that's a beautiful thing. For the general public, not so much. So these are all the different challenges that are out there that we tried to bake into our budget. Any questions on the challenges? All right, let's talk about just a couple quick highlights. The last year has been all things memory care. And so there's not a whole lot of highlights that we can go out and trumpet. But the big one is the memory care unit. It finished, not on time, but on budget. And it's fully staffed and fully operational at this point. Sans two beds. They will be filled in the next week or so. So we're there. We did win Best of the Fox for senior living again, so that's 6 years in a row. We just found that out, I think, within the last 2 weeks. We won Best for memory care. It wasn't open yet, so I'm not quite sure how.
How that happened? Maybe it was those envelopes.
Sometimes you just roll with it, okay? And we've also won top workplaces 5 years in a row. We are hoping for a 5th year this year. I would imagine that's within reach. We are going to apply for the U.S. World News Top 100 Nursing Homes this year. So yes, we're not going after gold, but we're not necessarily not going after accolades. So hang tight on that one, and I'll let you know more about it when I know more about it. But that is something we're going to do. So goals for next year. We're going to implement that strategic plan that we've talked about. We are definitely going to be monitoring reimbursement systems and making case mix decisions. And that's going to be you guys doing that, not me. Scott and I will model it for you, but you guys have to decide where we want to go with it. One of the things with case mix that we still have not done, and we don't necessarily have to, but just keeping on your radar, is separating the case mix from memory care and the general nursing facility, or leaving it the same. Right now we're just keeping it as whole house. It's working. We may want to look at that differently depending on how some of these reimbursement things happen through ABBA, but that's a decision or discussion we'll have probably in the spring. Let's see. And the last one is just to continue with this, the capital improvement and asset preservation plan, and that kind of leads into all of the supplementals that we do. We try to stay ahead of building repairs and equipment needs, so that way the building continues to look like it's brand new, which it, for the most part, still does. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about this organizational health focus and why, or what that means to the budget. So it's part of the strategic plan. It's, you'll go around the building, and I'm going to tell you right now, the feel in the building is not a problem, and the momentum, whatever you want to call it, the building it's not an unhealthy building. But what we want to be able to do is create to where Valley High is a destination. And what does that mean is, I want people lining up to work here. We don't have a turnover problem. We don't have a lot of open shifts. But I want to have it where people you're just basically on a waiting list to get in here to work. And at the same time, that translates to better care, right? Because you get to pick the best of the best. And we have some staff here that are absolutely amazing at what they do. So what does that mean? We have to kind of transition this role, which we've introduced a little bit already. We're going to revamp the employee council entirely. Right now, we have an individual that's the chair, and Tara and I sit on it. I want to make this new CCRC position be the chair, and then they're going to do all things employee council related. The High Expectations Customer Service Program I brought here, we revamped it to say High Expectations and stuff, but it was a program that I've used. It's old. It needs to be revamped. I've been here 15 years, and we've been running the same program for that long. We're going to redo that. There's some money built into the budget to deal with some of that.
Is it working?
It's not that it isn't working.
Not
the world has
broken?
changed, right? We give out cards, and then those cards are used to buy swag, and we've got to track it and trend it, and there's all kinds of things we do. Well, AI can help do some of this stuff and make it a little bit better, and you can, if you go to an online-based one, instead of it just being swag, there's other opportunities for them to, so it just needs to be modernized.
Okay.
The program itself is fine, but just, the employee recognition side of it is it's old, it's archaic. And then with this wellness dollars that are coming in now, matching that up and coordinating that. So for those, you may not know how that program works. For all the employees that participate in the employee wellness exams, money comes back to the departments, and then we can use that money to do wellness-related events and activities. So one of them is enhancing the break rooms. Right now, they look like a break room, right? White tiled floors, white walls, table, old chairs, and maybe a TV. We're going to build those out and kind of be a little bit better using the wellness dollars. We do a week in the year called Wellness Week, and we do have a massage for the staff come in, like massages, and the next day we do some kind of luncheon, and then we do an activity the next day, like something during the week, and then just ongoing activities and stuff. So we use those dollars for that, and so that you're going to see built into the budget, although you're not going to see each one of the line items, but I want you to know when we talk about this initiative and building it out, all of those monies have been built into the budget, or expenses have been built into the budget already, except for the position, which will come at a later time if we do move forward with that. All right, so how did we arrive at the numbers? It's a conservative approach. It's the same way we've done it in the years past. We sit down with my team. We do this over a week. We call it budget week. And each department head comes in with Tara and I and my business office team, and we just go through what does the last 2 years look like, what does the last 6 months look like, and then what are we projecting for next year. So that's how we arrive at the numbers. So we don't do the budget type where it's like, well, we just turn in the same thing we do every year. We literally go line by line by line and look at trending and adjust from there. Like I already mentioned, all the revenue projections are based on 96 occupied beds. The supplemental approach has been a little bit different than we have in the past. The last couple years, I've been bringing you everything that's on the capital improvement plan and whatnot as supplementals. That's been your request. Prior to that, we would just bring it as, what do you call it, a budget adjustment as the projects come up. So you're going to get it twice. You're going to get it at the budget time as a supplemental, and then I'm going to bring it back to you when we have to sign the contract. So you guys are going to have another chance to look at it, debate it, whatever you want. Before, we just brought it as a resolution, so now you get to see it a little bit earlier and to plan for that. And then, as I mentioned, we created and funded 2 new lines in the budget. One is called Valley High Fines, and one is called DAPNA Revenue Reduction. And those are built into the budget.
Which is unfortunate, you have to build that into the budget.
It is unfortunate, but it's better to at least account for it and know where we're taking it from than to keep hitting that contingent line and then at the end of the year going, well, we don't have contingent. So, staff-wise, FTEs remain statistically the same. We're not looking at adding any staff, so when we talk about this CCRC position, it's transitioning already, position that's already in the house. Carl and I had a conversation last night. He was asking about the FTEs. If you recall, go back 2 budget years, and there's a jump. That's when we added the memory care unit staff to the roster. And then that staffing, you'll see it stabilize, and it doesn't increase in the next budget year because they're already accounted for. Okay. Any questions on any of that so far? Do you guys want me to go through the key performance indicators? Really, it's standard stuff, right? The case mix that you guys have established and the targets that we anticipate. What's really going to be interesting is how many total admissions we have next year as it relates to bringing that memory care unit online and what the transition in that unit looks like. We've already transitioned 2 people off that, so on the unit, off the unit in a month. One we knew was going to be short-term. They came in under hospice, so obviously we figured that one. And then one had a significant stroke and ended up on the skilled side. So I would anticipate those are longer stays, but again, we've already experienced 2 very short ones. So admissions-wise, I'm projecting 250, which is a little bit less than what we've done in the last couple years, because I'm expecting it to stabilize, but that may change, and it may be higher than that. So just kind of keep in mind that it may adjust to the positive side. All right, revenues. Calculated on 96 residents, which is about a 96% occupancy. We're gonna be over that. We're gonna be at 95% most of the time. I think most important things here is we're projecting about 16.5 million in revenues. That does include projections on the investment income. Those are going to fluctuate a little bit. We had a January 1 and a July 1 rate increase this year. We're anticipating doing the same thing in the next budget year, so we built that into those revenues as well. So about 16.5 in revenue. On the expense side, we've tried to build in as much of the inflationary forecast as we can. We're projecting about 16.1 in expenses, so this will be the first time in a couple years that I'm going to come to you and say, we're projecting to be in the black. And we're projecting it somewhere around 300,000, but that again is based off of a 96 resident house. It's going to be higher than that. So I would imagine that next year is going to look pretty good. So any questions or thoughts on that before we get to the kind of the numbers? Okay. Then let me just walk you through a couple things that we did. Increases in the budget from a supplemental side. I broke them into a couple different things for you so you can just see what we're doing. One-time increases in the budget are not supplementals. we already built them in, but we wanted to show you where some of those increases to the budget occurred at. Linen, like I mentioned, that we're seeing increases in tariffs and some of that. Food, we took the inflationary forecast, projected it forward, and then also just keep in mind that food is now based off of 100 and some residents, not 80, okay, because we brought the memory care online. The next three lines, just the X-ray for Medicare A, physical therapy services Medicare A, and occupational therapy services Medicare A. Yes, we increased the expense side, but just keep in mind they generate revenue, and we increased it same on the revenue side. It's not a dollar for dollar, so you're not going to see a direct similar across, but it is, that's how they offset. And then I wanted to just draw your attention. We had the budget increase. We built a line and funded it at $150,000 for fines and fees. I mentioned DAPNA. We already had that. We already built that into the budget for now. One-time purchases. These are your individual items that in the past they wouldn't have been brought in as supplementals. We would have just dealt with them. But at the request of previous committees, we're now accounting for them all now. So you can see we've got about $612,000 in one-time purchases. The big one on there is the $300,000 for the new chiller. The chiller is reaching its end of life. Facilities management is already projecting that this is the year we're going to go ahead and get that taken care of. And so you'll see that on there. The other one, where's that? Did she not put it on here? Magnetic door holders, common area, automated. Okay, so I called it AI, she called it automated. That $100,000 for the automated sweeper and scrubber unit, that's the robots that we've been talking about. That is not 100% going to do. That is something that we've been talking about. We're still testing it. The staff really have, it's funny, all of the non-housekeeping staff are like, yeah, let's do it. And the housekeeping staff are like very apprehensive. Great conversation with my housekeeping director yesterday on this, and it makes a lot of sense. See, I've been telling them that if we do this, it's going to be in addition to what you guys are already doing. They're looking at it as, well, it's just a matter of time before the robots replace our jobs, which is natural. Because if you think about it, a lot of their, friends and people that work in factories, that has happened. Automation has taken their jobs. So I don't want to do anything that is going to upset the team. So it's kind of been more of, all right, well, this is why we want to do it. I need to get the detailed cleaning at a higher level. If you guys can do that without the robots, we don't do robots. But if I got to free up the time, like having the robots do the hallways and stuff so you can focus on detailed cleaning, then we have to go down that road. So it's not a guarantee we're going to do it. So just kind of keep in mind the 612 is a number that may not be 612 by the time we get to the end of the year. Anything that is over that 30,000 mark, don't worry, it's coming back to you, so we're going to have another conversation about it again in the future. And then the one-time service supplemental that we got to ask for, fire dampers have a lifetime, and we've reached the end of the lifetime on our mechanical fire dampers, and they have to be taken out and replaced. That number is the quote to get that work done, which will happen right after the first of the year.
Tom, can I ask you about that? So you have, in the list above, you have the fire damper replacement for $20K, and then you have this. Are they separate then?
Yeah, one is it's the component of the purchase of the equipment, and then the actual, like the physical part of it is separated out. And it's if you look at facilities management's budget too, you're going to notice that there's like some of the some of the chiller stuff is broken out as well. So like pre-purchase it, and then you have the design phase of that. So it's just a kind of a different way that we've been breaking out some of these projects.
Over the last couple of years, I've been really good of looking, hey, we've got epoxy the floor in the kitchen. Hey, this, stove we've got to get rid of. Hey, the washers and dry. Are we kind of like up to speed that we don't have any gremlins that are gonna jump out at us?
No,
you've been doing good.
We have a gremlin right now that's running great. You have money sitting right now in a supplemental that was approved. If it wasn't 2 years ago, it was last year, to replace washer number 2. Washer number 2's way past its useful life, but she's running like a deer. So that money just kind of sits there. We know it's coming, and we'll just forward it till next year. And then when washer 2 does decide that it's done, it's already been allocated. So it's kind of the same thing with the milk cooler that's on here for $5,000. Our milk cooler is limping along. We know it's going to have to be replaced, but we're not going to replace it until it actually decides that it's done. That money might get forwarded into 27.
Okay, like I said, the last few years, we've known X gotta happen, Z.
Yep.
Like the power, the temporary power that we had to get ready to hook up.
Remember, we had projected that we were going to be doing the rebuild of the freezer and the cooler motors. And we had that money set aside, and we were going to do it late in the year, this year. And then the cooler decided it was not going to cooperate, and we ended up to rush that through, and you guys approved that emergency resolution after the work was done. It's kind of the same thing. We know a lot of times that it's coming, so we plan for it, and it just sits there and waits until the time comes.
But pretty much we're caught up now.
We stay caught up. Yeah, Tom Burrows is really good at this stuff. I mean, yeah, he's got it all dialed in. And in your packet that I sent out last night, I included the updated capital improvement plan that projects things out. I think we're at now 29 or 30 on that plan. So just so you guys can get a feel for what's coming too. So these are our supplementals and one-time purchases. So I guess our final projections really is at 301. I think it's going to probably be somewhere closer to 4 by the time you add in the additional census and revenue, but that's where we're at. Final notes, and then I'll let the finance team kind of fill in where I forgot. The key here in 26 is to return to that daily occupancy of 95% and to keep that memory care unit and the short-term rehab program cruising along. One of the things that's been really interesting that we have, you think about it, but you don't really think about it, is when we started to bring the memory care unit online, we started getting a ton of calls for short-term rehab for those that have Alzheimer's and dementia. So we're in talks with our rehab company on what that may look like. So the short-term rehab side may get another juice from a different program that nobody's doing out there that we can do really, really well. And that marry the two pieces of what we're doing. So more to come on that, but that is a key to our revenue stream for the next year. And then it's all the same stuff as always, right? Just controlling costs, controlling staffing, watching what's going on, and just stay in the course. Things are going well. So if you guys want to add anything, I didn't get into like the breakdown of the numbers that was in your packet and whatnot. If you guys want to add, pick away. Tom, you totally blew this. Correct me, whatever you want. Go ahead.
I don't have anything to add.
Your thoughts?
I will add. I'm gonna put that on,
Oh,
this is, not in your budget. It was a couple of years ago when we were thinking of ways to balance the current budget. We talked about charging enterprise fund for county services, charging for HR, charging for risk.
We've already always done that.
Yeah.
the insurance though,
Yeah.
the charging for the administration.
IT services, those sorts of things. One of the, we're scrambling to try and make this year's budget work. So that is a scenario that we will pose to the county board, and begin to charge the enterprise funds, this and ETSD for some of those services that we have.
Well, this will be the first time that we can absorb it.
I know, and
In probably, 4 years?
Chris Deckbar in IT has done a fabulous projection of all of the IT costs that come out here, and
It's a lot.
it's a logical cost. It doesn't have to be, but it is a logical cost that we could do to help the general fund for the services provided.
That would change the
It
number.
would change, but it would also help the general fund, and that's another goal.
So can I ask a question about that? I know when we talked about that before, we were projecting that we would be looking at $500,000. Is that kind of what you're thinking about
Kind of what
now?
I'm thinking. We could easily charge $500,000.
Okay.
But I don't think we want to go much more than that.
Just to put that out there. I know we've.
now
This is
the
come up
gauntlet has been
before.
thrown down.
Yeah.
But not from a standpoint of fighting against it, but now we gotta increase our revenues. So,
And it's not a final,
you know what? It doesn't, I'm not blinking. I think that 300 is gonna
when
be low.
Carrie, in 13 days, when Carrie does her presentation at Cal, we're gonna show projections, and we're gonna show shortfall, and we're gonna show methods of accomplishing that shortfall. That is a method, and we'll let the board decide if it's a tool in it.
Cool. Well, we'll adjust. I mean, it doesn't really change much of what we put up there, but we'll adjust the final number. But I still, like I said, I still think that 300 is a little low. We're not gonna be running at 96 residents. We're already there.
Yeah.
Question, Scott, do you have, I'm sorry, Tom, I was looking at Scott's. Do you have, numbers where you can see what the cost that the county would charge you, how that would compare to just an average for, different organizations like Valley High?
I have not done anything like that. I mean, could we pull
AI
that
could
together?
pull that.
Yeah, AI, or we could just call our county counterparts and see what they're experiencing too.
Okay.
We have a really good relationship with DuPage, DeKalb, even Winnebago. So,
Just so that you've got the full picture and, you know, you're not being passive about it.
Sure.
That it's actually fair. Now, if it's higher, just,
That's a good,
It's-
that's a
it's-
good,
it's-
that's a good.
Going to county
idea.
counterparts would be a good way to look at it, because if you go to a private firm, they know all their costs are in.
Right, exactly.
We're such a blend, you don't even know what you're getting for free, you know?
That's a really good idea, Terry, I think, too, to be looking at other, you know, comparing apples to apples, basically.
yeah, it's a fair question. I'll look into it.
You know, Greg's sitting there.
Greg's like, I didn't do
He's
anything,
not-
I
he's
have
not-
nothing to
We
do
were
with
out of
this.
it.
He's not volunteering.
Any other questions, thoughts, concerns about the budget, what we're trying to do here?
I just, as usual, I appreciate your intricate knowledge of the details and all the possible exterior impacts. I try not to throw too much praise upon staff
Yep.
because I don't want it has getting.
And you know what, I don't like it anyway, so.
But, no, but
Squishy.
I mean, I appreciate the overall approach and this combined with the administrator's report and the thought on what you're doing with the association and the gold certification and kind of changing that direction. I really appreciate the leadership there.
You're welcome.
And don't think about going any other place. You're stuck.
Yeah, ditto.
No, I'm not, honestly, I'm not.
Florida's down the road then for you.
You hush
I
it.
still have a kid, I got one kid starting college and one kid in high school still, so I'm not going anywhere.
All right.
But we have been telling the younger one, when you go to college, go somewhere warm, because mom and dad are leaving. So, no, I got 15 more years of working hard.
All right.
Yeah, and then I'm checking out.
Don't blame you.
Yeah, that'll be 30 here, so that'll be good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You guys having, your annual picnic again this year?
We had it,
June
3-4
21st.
yeah.
Oh, well.
Yeah, we did it early. You know, that was another one of the things that the team after the picnic, well, the activity director brought it to me 2 weeks going into the picnic. She's like, do we get the bang out of our buck for this? Is it worth continuing to do this? And I'm like, all right, I love the question. Do not ask it in public until after the picnic. And then after the picnic, we sat down, and I don't think we're gonna do a picnic next year. We spend a lot of money, tents, food, and the attendance has kind of been dropping over the years. And so we do 4 special events a year. We do the Easter egg hunt with the Easter Bunny, we do Christmas with Santa, we do the Halloween party, and then we do like a fair, summer kind of thing. I think we've decided that we would like to put our time and investment into those 4 events and build those out better, because families bring their kids in, the staff bring their kids in for those, whereas the picnic has kind of been more just the residents and their families, where these are multi-generational. So we're probably not gonna do a picnic next year, but we are definitely gonna be doing some bigger family-related
All
events.
right, cool.
So, we have a guy coming this fall for the Halloween one that looks like Jack Sparrow. I mean, he is Jack Sparrow. So, it'll be pretty.
Probably know the gentleman.
You might, because he's local.
Yeah.
All right, last item on the budget review, I just need a consensus to move forward to the full board. That's-
Second.
I just need head nods.
Yay.
Say,
Yeah,
okay.
not-
All right, so we have consensus on that, thank you. No old business and waste reduction.
Oh, yeah, this one I thought was a mistake on here, but I guess not.
Kathy and I put this on without asking Tom, but this is more of a discussion item for Tom, but the Board of Health, I think appropriately is kind of asking the county to think about opportunities to reduce single-use plastics and just general waste reduction. It's kind of prompted me to think a little bit. Scott and I and Adam Latundra went and met with MCC staff last week because MCC has kind of made this a priority and they're doing some interesting things. Not surprisingly, MCC has a lot of food waste, because of all the food service they have for staff and students. We don't have a lot of food waste in the county except here and in the jail. So just thinking a little bit, and Kathy did some good research and had a meeting with a group that does compost food waste. So we're just dipping our toe in this and brought some information out for Tom to look at. Don't have anything much more to tell you about this other than that we are looking at this and I think there's an opportunity if the board's interested in going down this road to do some things differently with our food waste out here. So more to come.
Yeah, and I think this is definitely worth pursuing. Our staff out here are very cognizant of this, and we do have a very high volume of trash, which is something Burroughs has been getting after us about. So if there's a way to kind of marry it all together and address a couple things,
Scott and I talked with Sheriff Tatelman also about, the jail food waste. And I think Rob, very forward-thinking, he's very interested in learning more. To me, it seems safer to learn how it works out here rather than to work with the jail. So I think my thought process is if we start down this road, we start out here and see what works and where the challenges are, and then maybe introduce it to the jail if the sheriff's interested. Thank you.
Thank you. Future topics, anyone? Okay, no more topics in the future.
okay.
Don't need executive
Guess we're
session, so I will make a motion to.
Next
or
meeting?
need a motion, oh, I'm sorry.
Next meeting would be, it is September, right?
Yeah, because this is technically the July meeting. Yep.
Need a motion
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
second, all in favor?
Well, I know that Donna wants to get out too, so maybe in September we have Donna